due in part to what I've said about having gone there. It was in 1976 in Nashville. It was a whole different.
They sang about heartbreak, whiskey, and wild nights, but behind the twang and the glory was a haze of smoke that followed them everywhere. From backstage lounges to tour buses, cigarettes weren't just a habit in country music, they were a way of life. In this video, we're counting down the 21 biggest smokers in country music history, the legends who lit up just as often as they lit up the charts. Some smoked to cope, others to rebel, and a few never put them down until the end. Stick around, because number 7 will leave you speechless. Number 1, Ronnie Milsap.
Did you win them over?
Then when they heard me, they said, all right.
Blind from birth, Ronnie Milsap never let his lack of sight dim his vision. He grew into one of the most iconic figures in country music during the 70s and 80s, fusing country with pop, R&B, and rock in a way few others dared. Songs like Smoky Mountain Rain and There's No Getting Over Me became more than hits. They were bridges between genres, between radio stations, between people who didn't even know they liked country music until they heard Milsap's voice. Behind the fame, the awards, 6 Grammys, 35 #1 hits, and his 2014 induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame, Ronnie was a husband and a father. He married Joyce Reeves, his steady anchor through decades of touring and studio work. Their son, Todd, carried their love into the next generation. To Ronnie, the scent of tobacco was familiar and oddly soothing, like the gentle hum of a steel guitar or the soft crackle of a needle on vinyl. He believed he had quit the habit nearly 20 years earlier, but eventually picked it up again after a studio engineer offered him a cigarette without much thought. In 2019, Todd was found dead on his houseboat, officially due to a medical condition. It was his own son who discovered him after 2 days of unanswered calls. Then in 2021, Joyce lost her battle with leukemia. Number 2, Willie Nelson.
Hey, Peter Jackson. My name's Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson didn't just smoke. He practically chain smoked, burning through 2 or 3 packs a day like it was a full-time job. After catching pneumonia a few times, he finally kicked tobacco, but his love for marijuana stayed going strong. Willie is the original outlaw country icon, a rebel who pushed back against Nashville's strict rules in the late 60s. His albums, Shotgun Willie, Red-Headed Stranger, and Stardust, made him a legend. On top of music, he acted in over 30 movies, wrote books, and championed causes like biofuel and legal weed. Talk about multitasking. He wrote his first song at 7 and was in a band by 10. After a brief, back problem-shortened stint in the Air Force and dropping out of Baylor University, he focused on music full-time. He worked as a radio DJ while writing hits like Crazy and Hello Walls. By 1960, Nashville was his stage. Later, Austin, Texas stole his heart with its lively music scene. There, Willie helped create outlaw country albums and teamed up with stars like Whan Jennings and Johnny Cash. In 1985, he launched Farm Aid to support farmers, a country music hero's move. When the IRS hit him with a $32 million bill in 1990, Willie paid it off by selling albums and auctioning stuff. Since then, he's kept touring and proving you can't keep a good outlaw down. Number 3, Clint Black.
And spent most of 1988 working on the album.
Clint Black, the quiet cowboy with piercing eyes, once carried the haze of tobacco smoke as a silent companion throughout his early career. Emerging during the surge of new country in the 90s, Clint embraced a simple and understated style, letting his music speak softly yet powerfully. Tobacco was ever present when the stage lights dimmed, wrapping around him like a familiar shadow. Songs like Killing Time echoed the introspective depths of Clint's heart, where smoke mingled with unspoken sorrows and quiet struggles. But unlike many of his contemporaries, Clint refused to let smoking control his life. As he noticed his smooth, calm voice slowly losing its strength, he made a deliberate and proactive choice to break free from tobacco. This decision didn't just preserve his singing career, it also reinforced his image as a composed, steady outlaw, someone who commanded attention without needing to shout. Clint Black's journey is a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest rebellion isn't in defying the world outwardly, but in overcoming the quiet, internal battles that slowly consume us. By conquering his silent demons, Clint ensured his voice and his story would resonate clearly and enduringly, free from the haze that once threatened to dim them. Number 4, Johnny Cash.
And after going back 2 or 3, 4 times over a period of 6 months,
Johnny Cash grew up on a poor cotton farm in Arkansas, where gospel tunes filled the air and probably helped him cope with hard times, and a pack of smokes wasn't far behind. He started smoking when he was just 12, lighting up early like a pro. After a stint in the Air Force in West Germany, he came home and hit the Memphis rockabilly scene in the 50s, where the music was hot and the cigarettes were even hotter. At his concerts, Johnny always kicked off with a cool, "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash," before rolling into Folsom Prison Blues, probably taking a quick drag backstage to calm the nerves. Hits like "I Walk the Line" and "Ring of Fire" cemented his legend, but he also had a funny side with songs like "A Boy Named Sue." He and his wife, June Carter, lit up the stage together with duets like "Jackson." And yes, Trains and Smoke Clouds go hand in hand with classics like "Hey Porter." With over 90 million records sold, Cash blended country, rock, and blues with that gravelly voice, worn rough, maybe partly thanks to all those cigarettes. The man in black always dressed to match his smoky persona. He kept puffing away until heart surgery finally forced him to quit. For Johnny, the smoke was part of the soundtrack, rough, raw, and impossible to ignore. Number 5, Tanya Tucker.
And at some point, my first producer, Billy Sherrill, who was a gambler in more than one way.
Bursting into the spotlight as a teenager with her breakout hit Delta Dawn, Tanya Tucker was a force. With a sound that carried raw emotion and grit beyond her years, she quickly became a sensation. But behind the powerful vocals and bold persona was a young girl trying to survive the weight of early fame. Tobacco made its appearance early in her story, not as a vice, but almost like a shield. In her teenage years, Tanya lit up cigarette armor herself from the vulnerability she felt inside. The smoke became a barrier, a hazy veil that dulled the constant scrutiny of cameras, critics, and the crushing expectations that come with childhood stardom. Each drag was an act of rebellion, a way to push back against the world that wanted to mold her into something she wasn't. But Tanya Tucker is no tragic tale. Like wildfire, she raged, stumbled, and ultimately rose. Through the scandals, the setbacks, and the toll of years spent inhaling both fame and smoke, she found her way back to center stage. Albums like While I'm Livin' proved that her voice and her spirit remained undimmed. Her heart, though singed by experience, beat stronger than ever. The cigarettes are gone now, but their presence lingers in the mythology of her journey. Beneath the spotlight and behind the songs that stirred a nation, there once swirled the ever-present haze of smoke. And as that haze slowly clears in the rearview of history, one truth remains. Tanya Tucker lived, sang, and burned with a brilliance that could never be tamed. Number 6, Merl Haggard.
They can't talk, they can't sing. I was engrossed with wondering how he was going to pull this off.
Merl Haggard carved out a legendary career in country music, despite a wild past filled with a rough childhood, run-ins with the law, and even prison time. He became famous for singing about the working-class grind, often going against the grain compared to the anti-Vietnam War tunes of his era. Between the 60s and 80s, he scored 38 #1 country hits, with some even breaking into the mainstream charts. His music kept rolling well into the 2000s. Haggard collected a trophy case of honors, including a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, a Kennedy Center honor, and spots in multiple halls of fame, country, Oklahoma, and songwriting included. He didn't start smoking weed until he was 41, but he wasn't shy about his wild streak, once dropping $2,000 on smoking and partying hard for 5 months straight. Eventually, he saw the toll it took and quit for good. He kicked cigarettes in 1991 and finally gave up marijuana in 1995, though the years of smoke had already left their mark. That same year, he had surgery to clear blocked arteries. Then came a lung cancer diagnosis in 2008, leading to part of his lung being removed. But true to form, Merl was back on stage just 2 months later in Bakersfield, still rocking hard. He kept touring and recording until shortly before he passed away from pneumonia on his 79th birthday. Number 7, Dwight Yokum.
Due in part to what I've said about having gone there, it was in 1976 in Nashville, it was a whole different.
Behind the wide-brimmed cowboy hat, polished boots, and unmistakable honky-tonk swagger, Dwight Yokum concealed a far more fragile and introspective artistic soul than his confident public persona suggested. As a young, ambitious singer wandering through the sprawling cityscape of Los Angeles, Dwight found himself grappling with deep feelings of loneliness and isolation. To cope, he turned to smoking, not merely as a habit, but as a way to self-medicate. a quiet ritual that helped veil the raw vulnerabilities he rarely showed. In the glamorous, yet often isolating world of the entertainment industry, each puff of cigarette smoke was like a protective curtain, a way to mask the emptiness and keep his private struggles hidden from the relentless spotlight. Dwight's music echoed this inner conflict. Songs like Guitars, Cadillacs, and Ain't That Lonely Yet carry a poignant emotional depth, weaving together themes of heartache, longing, and solitude. If one listens carefully, the smoky undertones hint at a man wrestling with his own demons, a solitary traveler who sought solace in fleeting moments of escape. He once admitted that smoking made him feel as if he wasn't facing utter emptiness, providing a fragile sense of comfort amid the chaos. But as his career soared and the stakes grew higher, Dwight realized that protecting his voice was essential, not just for his livelihood, but for his very identity. He chose to quit smoking, a decision that went beyond physical health. It was a conscious effort to rescue the part of his soul that was quietly withering under the weight of too many long, aimless nights. Freed from the haze, Dwight's artistry and spirit emerged clearer and stronger than ever. Number 8, Whan Jennings.
Because, I mean, it's just one after the other. Excuse me.
Whan Jennings was born in 1937 on a farm near Littlefield, Texas. He picked up the guitar at 8 and was already performing on the radio by 14. Fueled by his love for music, he dropped out of high school at 16 to chase his dream, forming his first band, the Texas Longhorns. Whan became a key player in the outlaw country scene of the 70s. Along with Willie Nelson and friends, he helped create Wanted the Outlaws, the first country album to go platinum. His solo album, Ol' Waylon, also hit platinum, and Luckenbach, Texas, became a huge hit. Whan even branched into TV and movies, narrating and singing the theme for the Dukes of Hazzard and making an appearance on Sesame Street. But Whan wasn't just about music. He battled heavy smoking and substance use. He started lighting up at 10 and later went through as many as 6 packs a day. After beating substance addiction, he finally quit smoking in 1988, right after triple heart bypass surgery. Unfortunately, years of rough living caught up with him. He developed type 2 diabetes, and by 2000, health issues forced him to slow down and stop touring. Still, his impact on country music is undeniable, a true outlaw who lived hard and played harder. Number 9, Travis Trit.
Be the first time that I ever played the Grand Ole Opry. I was backstage.
Growing up in the back roads of rural Georgia, Travis Trit knew the scent of tobacco smoke as intimately as the sound of gravel under boots or the wail of wind through pine trees. It was a part of life, woven into the fabric of Southern authenticity. As his music career soared with hits like Help Me Hold On and Trouble, tobacco remained a constant presence, curling from his lips during late-night bus rides and backstage lulls. But fame, like fire, burns fast, and years of high-energy performances and relentless touring began to take their toll. His voice, once strong and soul-stirring, began to feel the strain. More importantly, life offstage began to shift. The birth of his children brought a new kind of clarity. Travis looked into their eyes and saw a reason to change that no chart position ever offered. He made the decision to quit smoking not just for his health, but for his legacy. To be a stronger performer, yes, but also a more present father. In choosing to break from the smoke, Travis reclaimed control over his story. Because for some men, the greatest victories don't happen on stage, but in quiet, personal moments, when they choose to rise above their old selves and become something more. For Travis Trit, that choice lit a path not of smoke, but of strength. Number 10, Kristofferson.
More than any contemporary writer that I got to know.
Kristofferson was born in Brownsville, Texas, but moved to California as a kid. After a brief stint in the military during the early 60s, his music career didn't take off right away. He only released one single with Epic Records at first. But things changed in 1969 when he signed with Monument Records, later recording with several other labels like Mercury and Atlantic. Chris became famous not just for his hits like Why Me and Highwayman, but also for his acting. He made his film debut in The Last Movie and went on to star in movies like A Star is Born, Convoy, Heaven's Gate, and the Blade trilogy. From 1985 to 1995, he joined forces with Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Whan Jennings as part of the legendary supergroup The Highwaymen. Kristofferson was never shy about his smoking habit. He admitted to being a lifelong smoker and joked that his daughter wished he'd pick it back up because he was grumpier without it. He knew the habit slowed him down, but kept going anyway. You could often spot him with a cigarette, whether on stage or in interviews. In 2004, he was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame and earned a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014. Chris passed away in 2024 at 88, 3 years after stepping away from the public eye. Number 11, Marty Stewart.
And it wasn't about saving the past. It was really about...
Entering the scene as a teenager, playing alongside icons like Lester Flatt and Johnny Cash, Marty Stewart was quickly swept into the thick, nicotine-laced air of backstage life. Long nights on the road, chilly dressing rooms, and a constant fog of cigarette smoke became part of his early reality. For young Marty, lighting a cigarette was more than a habit. It was a symbol of maturity, of belonging, of walking among giants. In the whirlwind of music and miles, smoking seemed like a small price to pay to feel part of something timeless. But as he stepped out of the shadows and into his own spotlight with hits like Tempted and Hillbilly Rock, Marty began to see things differently. He realized that if he wanted to pour his soul fully into his songs, if he wanted his music to ring true and clear, he had to leave the smoke behind. The decision to quit wasn't just about health, it was a turning point, a shedding of old skin. Free from tobacco's grasp, Marty Stewart's music began to shine even brighter. Like the clean, open skies of the heartland he so often sings about, his voice and his vision became clearer, rooted in tradition, yet unclouded and true. Number 12, Keith Whitley.
Well, that's a real good question. I've never really given that any thought because...
Keith Whitley was born in Ashland, Kentucky, and raised in the small town of Sandy Hook. He got his musical start in 1970 with Ralph Stanley's bluegrass band, quickly gaining attention for his rich, emotional voice. After years of bluegrass success, he moved to Nashville in 1983 to chase a country music career. By 1986, he broke through with the hit Miami, My Amy, and just 2 years later, he scored big with #1 hits like Don't Close Your Eyes, When You Say Nothing at All, and I'm No Stranger to the Rain. But behind the scenes, Whitley was battling serious demons. Alcoholism plagued much of his adult life. Tragically, in 1989, shortly after wrapping up what would become his posthumous album, I Wonder Do You Think of Me, he died from acute alcohol poisoning at just 34. Songs from that final album, like the title track, It Ain't Nothin', and I'm Over You, became some of his most iconic. On top of his drinking, Whitley was a heavy smoker. Footage and interviews, including ones cited by Louder Sound, show him constantly chain smoking, a habit that stuck with him throughout his adult life. Though he only released 2 studio albums while alive, Whitley racked up 12 charting singles and left an undeniable mark on country music. In 2022, he was posthumously inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, a voice silenced too soon but never forgotten. Number 13, Lorie Morgan.
And I kind of blew it off to where they might have just been.
Lorie Morgan, the golden voice of 90s country music, captured hearts with her soulful ballads and emotional depth. But behind the elegance of her voice and the shimmer of stage lights, she quietly battled a personal struggle, smoking. For Lorie, cigarettes were a coping mechanism, a silent escape from the weight of expectation and emotional storms that shadowed her both on stage and off. The daughter of country legend George Morgan, Lorie stepped into the industry carrying the heavy legacy of her father's name. With every performance, she fought to prove herself, to carve her own identity in a world where her last name preceded her. Amid the pressures of fame, a demanding tour life, and personal heartbreaks, tobacco became a steady, harmful comfort. Smoke lingered not only in her breath, but between the lines of her most iconic songs. Something in Red in 5 Minutes were more than just hits. They were glimpses into the aching soul behind the voice. Yet, Lorie refused to let smoking shape the narrative of her life. She took a hard look at what it was costing her, not just physically, but in terms of the voice that had carried her through every high and low. Determined to protect her gift and regain control in a life frequently pulled off course, she made the choice to quit. Today, Lorie Morgan's voice continues to resonate with timeless beauty, and her journey, much like her music, reflects deep resilience. Though the smoke has faded, her power and presence remain, shining brighter than ever. Number 14, Dolly Parton.
If you had of, it would have been something very natural, but I would have probably kicked.
Dolly Parton, known as the Queen of Country, has enjoyed a legendary career spanning more than 6 decades. After gaining recognition as a gifted songwriter for other artists, she released her debut album, Hello, I'm Dolly, in 1967, setting the stage for an enduring presence in music. Over the years, she released 49 studio albums, with her 2023 rock-inspired record, Rockstar, becoming her highest-charting album on the Billboard 200, peaking at number 3. Beyond music and film, Parton is a savvy businesswoman. She co-owns the Dollywood Company, which oversees the popular Dollywood theme park, Splash Country, and dinner attractions like the Dolly Parton Stampede and Pirate's Voyage. Deeply connected to her Appalachian roots, she established the Dollywood Foundation, which supports educational and poverty relief initiatives in East Tennessee. Despite her wholesome image and boundless energy, Parton has been candid about one personal challenge: smoking. In a revealing interview with Larry King, she admitted, "I've tried to quit smoking, and I've quit a few times, but I just don't want to." Known for her honesty and down-to-earth nature, Parton has never hidden this part of her life, confronting it with the same candor and resilience that have defined her career. Her openness and continued success, both on and off the stage, only add to the legend of Dolly Parton, an artist and entrepreneur who has always stayed true to herself. Number 15. Charlie Daniels.
I came to Nashville in 1967 at the behest of a friend of mine, Bob Johnston, took over.
Charlie Daniels kicked off his music career back in the 1950s and rode that wave for decades, racking up honors along the way. He was inducted into the Cheyenne Frontier Days Hall of Fame, became a Grand Ole Opry member, joined the Musicians Hall of Fame, and landed in the Country Music Hall of Fame. Married to Hazel Juanita Alexander since 1964, he was a proud dad, die-hard University of Tennessee fan, and outdoorsman who loved hunting, fishing, and snowmobiling. He also proudly repped the NRA and appeared in their videos. Of course, most folks remember him for his fiery fiddle showdown in The Devil Went Down to Georgia, a #1 hit credited to the Charlie Daniels Band. His sound was a bold mix of country, rock, blues, and jazz, perfect for pioneering Southern rock and stirring up a little trouble. Daniels used to be a serious smoker, like 4 packs a day. He finally quit in 1968, which probably saved him a few extra fiddle battles. He later joked about his smoking days, and early songs like Long-Haired Country Boy made it clear he wasn't shy about lighting up. Despite some major health setbacks, a busted arm from a farm accident, prostate cancer, a stroke, and heart issues, Daniels kept going strong. He passed away at 83 in 2020 from a hemorrhagic stroke and was laid to rest in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. Number 16, Kenny Rogers.
Wonderful, and it's very touching. It's like, what will I do when you're gone?
Kenny Rogers lit up more than just the stage, possibly a few cigarettes too, if the whispers are to be believed. Though he never publicly confessed to being a smoker, some suspect he may have picked up the habit at some point, especially given his later diagnosis of bladder cancer, a disease often linked to tobacco use. Rogers launched his music career in the late 50s with the Scholars and bounced through bands like the Bobby Doyle Trio and the New Christy Minstrels. In 1967, he hit it big with the psychedelic rock group The First Edition and their trippy anthem, Just Dropped In, to see what condition my condition was in. As the band shifted toward country, Rogers took the spotlight. When they disbanded, he went solo and soared. Hits like Lucille, Lady, and especially The Gambler solidified his place in country music royalty. The Gambler even earned a Grammy and a spot in the National Recording Registry. Rogers didn't stop at music. He also acted and co-founded the Kenny Rogers Roasters restaurant chain. Inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2013, Rogers sold over 100 million records. Number 17, Glen Campbell.
Elvis Presley could flat sing. He was a good singer, wow.
Born in Billstown, Arkansas, Glen Campbell picked up more than just a guitar in his early days. He also picked up a cigarette or two or 2,000. As a longtime smoker, Campbell eventually kicked the habit in 1992, but not before it had taken a toll on his health. Still, his voice and charm remained unmistakable. Campbell first made waves in Los Angeles as a member of the elite session group, The Wrecking Crew, playing behind countless hits before stepping into the spotlight himself. He went on to release 64 albums across 5 decades, selling over 45 million records. His smooth blend of country and pop produced classics like Gentle on My Mind, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, Wichita Lineman, and Rhinestone Cowboy. He racked up 80 charting songs, with 29 making the top 10 and 9 hitting #1. From 1969 to 1972, he even hosted the Glenn Campbell Good Time Hour, bringing music and humor to living rooms across America. In 2011, Campbell revealed his Alzheimer's diagnosis and soon retired, but not before leaving fans with one final emotional farewell in the song "I'm Not Gonna Miss You." He passed away in 2017. Number 18, Conway Twitty.
So, and I'm still out there swinging with the rest of them.
Conway Twitty started out rocking the pompadour and the rockabilly charts in the 50s, but he found his true calling in country music, along with a pack of smokes never too far away. Known for his steamy ballads and signature croon, Twitty lit up the charts almost as often as his cigarettes. But by the early 80s, he snuffed out the habit for good, claiming it did wonders for his voice. In fact, he once said quitting smoking and ditching his iconic hairdo gave him the strongest pipes of his career. Who knew a cleaner windpipe could outshine even a well-greased pompadour? Twitty's country catalog was nothing short of legendary. With 40 #1 hits on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart, holding the record for 2 decades, he gave romantic country a whole new level of smolder. Hits like "Hello Darlin'," "Linda on My Mind," and his duet work with Loretta Lynn made him a household name and earned him the nickname the High Priest of Country Music. And yes, he even had a 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 with "It's Only Make Believe." Inducted into both the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Rockabilly Hall of Fame, Twitty left behind a legacy as smooth as his voice. Number 19, Tammy Wet.
And all I have to do is head back down to the old farm because I still own it.
Tammy Wet, the first lady of country music, rose from the cotton fields of Mississippi to become one of the genre's most iconic voices, singing about love, loss, and loyalty. Like many of her peers, Wynette smoked for much of her life, reportedly for about 30 years. Though she eventually quit in the early 90s, the damage had already been done. Smoking, along with years of health struggles and surgeries, likely took a toll on her voice and overall well-being. Wynette's career took off in the late 60s with hits like "Your Good Girl's Gonna Go Bad" and "DIVORCE," but it was "Stand By Your Man" that secured her place in country history, even as it stirred debate for its message. Despite personal turmoil, including a rocky marriage and musical partnership with George Jones and a long-time addiction to painkillers, she stayed at the top of the charts with 20 #1 country hits to her name. Number 20, Hank Williams Jr.
To be Hank Williams. It was fun for a little boy, but it was hell for a man.
Hank Williams Jr., son of country icon Hank Williams, made his mark by mixing country with rock and rebellion. He started out singing his dad's songs, but after a near-deadly tumble down Ajax Peak in 1975, it seems like he literally fell into his new sound. Hank Jr. came back stronger, louder, and a whole lot rowdier. Known for family tradition and more, he's also been honest about his bad habits, cigarettes, substances, and enough smoke to fog a honky-tonk. He quit smoking cigarettes, but was later spotted puffing cigars like a country music Bond villain. Inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2020, he's still rocking stages and family reunions, where you'll likely find him passing both songs and smoke rings to his musical kids and grandkid. Number 21, Randy Travis.
That I've been taken care of, that God has taken care of me. I'm not kidding.
Randy Travis, known for his rich baritone and classic country vibe, kicked off his career in the 80s with hits like "Forever and Ever, Amen." Early on, he was no stranger to smoking and drinking, but later tried trading cigarettes for kale and jogging well mostly. His wild side made headlines in 2012 when he was found naked after a car crash and charged with making threats. Despite health scares, including a stroke, Travis keeps his music alive, even using AI to sing new songs. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.